demand what you do for doing some crime or something like that. Okay, so basically ransomware means it's a malware itself, where you are some attacker is demanding or holding victims information. Is that clear? So basically when ransomware, in the sense you are encrypting some data and sending it. So attacker will hold the encryption details itself. Is that clear? So if you want to take the exact definition of it, I can give you: ransomware is a malware that employs encryption to hold a victim's information at ransom. Is that clear? So basically it gains the control over the encryption by paying a, or by demanding for a ransom. Okay, so that's about the ransomware. So I hope you know some of the attacks now, how to mitigate those attacks. Now there are some measures to see. We have seen lot of measures, right? We have discussed many attacks, and we saw in many attacks we have tools to mitigate those attacks, and we have firewalls to mitigate those attacks, and we implement adequate network security to prevent those attacks. So after all this, there are some things which you should know. There are some points which you should know being a information security student. So I would like to give those points today for detection of intruders. Okay, and how to avoid the effect of intruders to your system. The first point, you can make a note of it. This is not there in slide, students. Please make a note of it. Honeypots. 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 So have you come across honeypots? Anyone?
No, sir.
So it's a very common type of intrusion detection method. Okay, so please make a note of it. Honeypots are fake computer systems set to trap people and collect data on intruders. Is that clear? Honeypots are fake computer systems set to trap people. People in the sense basically hackers. Okay, or intruders, you can say. Honeypots are fake computer systems set to trap hackers or intruders and collect data on them. Is that clear? Basically what happens, a particular system is loaded with fake data. So when a computer is loaded with fake data, the intruder or an attacker will see that computer, and they think that, oh, this computer have a lot of data, some information, and it is made easy for an attacker to gain access to that computer. Is that clear? So basically it's a trap. So when an attacker gains access to that particular device, a network administrator can study the complete details of that attacker and make sure that that attacker is cannot attack the other systems of that network. Is that clear? So that is the main function of honeypots. Am I clear, students? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can take one more point for honeypots. A honeypot, comma, loaded with fake information. A honeypot, comma, loaded with fake information, comma, appears to the hacker to be a legitimate machine. Honeypot loaded with fake information appears to the hacker to be a legitimate machine. It appears vulnerable to attack. It appears vulnerable to attack, but it actually prevents access to vulnerable data or administrative control.
But it actually prevents.
But it actually prevents access to vulnerable data and administrative controls. So what are the functions of it? See, we know what is honeypots now. It's a fake computer with fake data. An attacker, when in a bird's eye view, if an attacker look a network and try to gain access to that network, the attacker will feel that okay, this computer is easily that computer can be attacked easily, and that attacker will gain access to that computer. Is that clear? So your actual data, actual controls are in other computer systems, but this attacker will attack this computer system and get trapped there. So how we are going to trap it? Is that clear? So what is the mechanism there? The first thing is, see, you are diverting the attention of the attacker from the real network. Okay, so you are getting time there, diverting the attention of the attacker from the real network. Is that clear? So instead of attacking the main information or main control system, an attacker will attack a fake system. Is that clear? That is one thing. Second thing, with that you can build an attacker profile. Just like a criminal profile, you can build an attacker profile by gaining information about the attacker. Is that clear? Like what method this attacker will use to attack a system, what is the IP address of the attacker, so from which location that attacker is gaining access to your system. All those things can be easily traceable when you have the attacker, like when you get to know where an attacker is attacked. Is that clear? Which system an attacker is attacked. Okay, so then you can identify the new vulnerabilities and risks for your operating system or any other environments of your network. Is that clear? Then you can also capture new viruses and worms for future study using this honeypots. Exactly, because if an attacker tries to inject some kind of a malware or virus or worms into a particular system, that will be injected to this honeypot systems. Okay, so when that is injected to the honeypot system, consider it's a new type of virus. You can study it and you can come out with an antivirus for it. Is that clear? So basically, these honeypots are very, very advantageous for any kind of network to build a attacker profile, to study virus and worms for developing antivirus for it, and to divert the attention of the attacker. Is it clear, students, the advantages of honeypots?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just like honeypots, there are few more methods where uh, the attacker is actually we are fooling the attackers are doing something to make sure there are no attack for our network or system. Okay. The second thing is padded cells. PADDED, padded cells. Can anyone tell me what are padded cells? Any idea, students? Have you heard of it at least?
No, sir.
Okay. So basically, in honeypot or honeypots, what we are going to do, you are actually attacking an attacker there directly. Is that clear? So in padded cell, what happens? Uh, 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 in padded cell, basically a network will wait for an attacker to be detected. Is that clear? And once an attacker is detected in the network, then that attacker is seamlessly transferred to a special padded cell host. Is that clear? So that attacker will not realize it, and attacker will ends up landing in a simulated environment where the attacker harm whatever the attacker is going to harm for your network will not happen. Is that clear? Similar to the honeypot, you can fill this simulated environment with fake data, where attacker will feel that uh, uh, he or she has attacked a network or a system, but basically attacker is attacking a simulated environment. Is that clear? So here you are not going to have a what you can say a honeypot system. You will be waiting for an attacker to attack your system, and there are many methods to find out whether your system is attacked or not. Once you feel that's a padded cell, it's a system. Is that clear? It's a host. So when you feel that that host is attacked, you are going to transfer the attack from that system to a simulated environment. Is that clear? They are called as padded cells. Is it clear, students?
So that means the attacker will be diverted to the padded cell. Won't the attacker be realizing that it is an environment where probably attack does, I mean, its attack does not make much
Yes.
effect?
Yes. It's a simulated device. That's all. It's a simulated environment. It's not an actual environment at all. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the next thing is scanning and analysis tools. So scanning and analysis tool, what it is? Have you come across this? We have seen right in the previous classes when we were discussing about different types of attacks. We discussed that how to mitigate the attacks. We will use scanning and analysis tools to figure out what is the attack and how to address it. We have seen that, right? What do you mean by that scanning and analysis tool? Can anyone tell me? Hello? Any guess, student? You don't know? Haven't come across this scanning and analysis tool?
Like normal scanning and analysis, like, do you mean a tool which scans and analyzes?
Not exactly. Okay, let me explain it. See, a scanner and an analysis tool are useful in finding vulnerabilities in a system, or basically in network it is called as holes in security components. Holes in security components are vulnerabilities in uh, 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 systems. Is that clear? So how these scanning tools are used? These scanning tools are typically used as a part of an attack protocol, or to collect information that an attacker would need to launch. Is that clear? For a successful attack. So basically, when you run this analysis tool or scanning tool in your network, this will go into each and every component, each and every port of each and every component, and figure out where exactly there is a vulnerability or holes in the security component. And then it tries to give information about that vulnerabilities and holes to a network administrator. And that administrator can then take care of those vulnerabilities or holes in the security component and fix it. Is that clear? So it's a part of an attack protocol. Is that clear? So basically, uh, it's a kind of an attack which you make for your network only to figure out where there is a problem. Is that clear? And you are going to fix. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
That's about network scanning and analysis tools. With respect to scanning and analysis tools, there is one more thing which works similar to scanning and analysis tools, that is port scanners. Exactly. Yeah. They are port scanners. So basically, port scanning is a process of connecting TCP and UDP ports for the purpose of finding what service and applications are running on the target device. Is that clear? So basically, port scanners are the tools to identify the computers that are active on a network. Say, for example, a switch has lot of ports in it. How many ports are in use? How many ports are not in use? You have to shut down all the other ports which are not in use. Is that clear? With respect to a switch or a router or a firewall, whatever it is. So basically, shutting down those ports which are not in use, and also the ports which are in use, what is the amount of data coming in through that port, from where exactly it is coming in, what the amount of data is going out of that port, everything has to be scanned. Is that clear? So basically that is with respect to the port. That is what port scanners are. The next thing is firewall analysis tool. You already know what is firewall, and there is a tool to analyze these firewalls, how they are working. Is that clear? So they are called as firewall analysis tool. And one more method of detecting the intruders is using packet sniffers. So packet sniffers, I need not explain it. You have studied packet sniffer in the previous semester computer networks, which what it is?
Wireshark, sir.
Wireshark is a packet sniffer. How Wireshark will help you to detect if there is any attack? Can anyone tell me?
So when we start a session in Wireshark, it basically shows the packet, like all the details of the packet, what protocol, source, destination, everything it shows us. So basically, we can find a malicious packet from there.
Yes. So you can analyze about a packet, and not just a packet, you can analyze the whole uh, uh, information which is going out and coming into your network. So basically they provide network administrator with valuable information for diagnosing and resolving network issues. Is that clear? That is a packet sniffer. So okay, fine. That's about the different uh, 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 methods where you can analyze, or you can figure out where there is an attack and try to solve it. Okay, I one last thing which I need to discuss. Uh, okay, let me put it in this way. We have seen many antivirus softwares, right? Antivirus softwares, we install it in our system, and that antivirus software will keep on scanning the data which is there in your system. And when you plug in a external drive to your system, basically that will scan your drive and see for any viruses in it. That's the work of an antivirus, but many times we update this antivirus system, right? Why do we do it? What will be there in that update basically?
New virus definitions, sir. Like with time, the viruses also will become new, right? So for them, the solutions develop. The
Yes,
detecting mechanism.
yes. Every update in an antivirus software is basically you are informing your software that there is a new type of virus, and this is a copy of that virus. And if there is any data which is coming into your system which have this code or this data in it, that is a virus. When you scan it and if you match that with this new piece of code, then it's a new kind of virus. You need to protect your system from that. That's the information what will be there in a virus update. So basically how it happens, um, uh, say suppose an unknown virus is in any of the system. Okay, so that unknown virus is attacking your system and your antivirus cannot detect it. So what will happen? There will be a administrative machine in the network or somewhere in the if it is a home system, basically in the service provider itself, there will be an administrative machine which will detect that and sends that sample of the virus, that code which is being see, it is very, there are many or this antivirus software itself will detect about some kind of a unexpected activity in your system. This antivirus may not detect that new kind of virus, but it will surely detect some kind of unexpected activity in your system, and it finds that in particular device, in particular data, there will be some kind of a problem. So what it will do, it will just encrypt and sends it to a basically a virus analysis machine, central virus analysis machine is that when you're connected to the internet. So what this central virus analysis machine do? It will, there is something called as a Petri dish. Is that clear? So that Petri dish is a device basically which accepts this kind of encrypted data, and then it analyzes the behavior of it. Is that clear? It analyzes the structure and behavior of it, and once it detects that it's a virus, what it will do, it will extract a signature of it. It will extract a signature, and then that will be sent as an update to all the antivirus softwares which are distributed around the globe to all the systems. And then when there is an update available, when you update it, that new signature which is coming as an update will be given to the antivirus software running in your system. And if there is any virus of that sort, so it will, that antivirus software will try to match it in your system, and that new virus will be detected and it will be removed from your system at that point. Is that clear? That's how the antivirus software will work. Am I clear, students? Like AVG, Kaspersky, McAfee, Norton antivirus. We use nowadays. We are not using. If you are using a Linux operating system, it's very difficult to get a virus into Linux operating system. Only with Windows operating system, generally we end up having viruses in our system. But if you are using a Linux operating system, generally you won't get virus into it. So for that kind of systems, it is okay, but definitely for Windows, you need to have antivirus system and you need to keep on updating it. Whenever you get an update, you should not neglect an update at all, because it is as important as having an antivirus in your system. Exactly. It's not just you feel that you have an antivirus software in your system and always it protects. No. Whenever you have a new update, definitely you have to use that update and update your antivirus software. Am I clear, students?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And coming towards threats, when you see the different types of threats, there are dependent and independent threats, students. Like, any idea what it is? We are speaking in general, okay. Whatever the points I told, like you should know about the honeypots, padded cells, which I told you, all those things. In general, now we will see some few points. So there are threats which we generalize into two categories: dependent and independent threats. Any idea about that, students? Don't have any idea? Okay, what is a malicious program? Can anyone tell me that? What do you mean by a malicious program?
Malicious program means in the program somewhere they would have hidden some code which can induce some virus or malware or something into the system. So when we run that code, then the virus will get like infected, like the system will get infected that way.
Yes, you are right. So a malicious program or malicious code means that have a small portion of code in it which will affect your system. Is that clear? That is basically called as malicious programs, which you will not know. In that, the malicious programs can be categorized into two different categories. Like one is dependent and independent. What do you mean by dependent? They are fragments of programs. That means small part of the program which cannot execute independently. Is that clear? Only when you run a certain program, say for example, macro virus. What are macro virus? They come in your document files or in maybe in the Excel file. So only when you execute it, exactly when you open that Excel or a doc file, so this kind of virus will affect your system. It starts affecting or replicating only when you run it. So it is dependent. It is dependent on the user to run a program. Whereas there are some kind of malicious programs which are independent. We can call it as self-contained program. Okay. So there is no need of running any program. So they will the program can be scheduled and run by the operating system. Is that clear? So it is designed that way that there is no it is independent. It can run by itself and replicate by itself. Is that clear? So they are very dangerous actually. The independent malicious program. Virus comes under dependent. Okay, Trojan horse, virus, trapdoors, all these comes under dependent kind of malicious programs. Whereas worms, bacteria, you might have not heard about bacteria, but yes, it is there in computers also. There are like virus, we have bacteria and worms. They are independent. Is that clear? Any computer program which run by itself and replicate by itself, basically they are called as either bacteria or worms. Okay, virus is something which needs a program to execute. It won't get replicate by itself. Is it clear, students? This classification in general you should know. Okay, so these are some of the things which okay, couple of more things. Yes, there are many types of viruses. Students, does anybody know about it? Can you name uh, any one or two types of viruses?
So Trojan horse.
No, Trojan horse is a different thing. It is not a virus. That's what the wrong information we have. Trojan horse and virus, they work in the same way, but they are different. Okay, so let me give a couple of types of viruses to you. Parasitic virus. Have you come across this, student? Parasitic virus. Parasitic. Parasitic virus. So basically, they are code fragments that will attach themselves to an executable file and reproduce. Simple as that. Is that clear? They are small code fragments. They will attach themselves to an executable file, and only when that file is executed, they will replicate. That's what I told you. Viruses are not independent; they are dependent. Okay. So that is parasitic virus. Apart from parasitic virus, we have something called as macro virus. So basically, the actual location of this macro virus will be with an MS Office file. Exactly. Yeah. So they always come into your system with respect with an MS Office file, and it becomes active when a user opens or closes or save. Basically, when these files are saved, it gets affected. Okay. So they are called as macro virus. And other important type of virus is boot sector virus, which is very critical type of virus because it will attack the boot program which will run your system. What is booting program, students? I hope this you should know what is a booting program. What it is?
So basically that loads operating system into the By
Yes.
when we turn on the computer.
Yes, when you turn on your system, that's a code that's a program which runs or which starts your operating system. And there is a virus, there is a type of virus called as boot sector virus, which will affect this program itself. And the whole operating system will get corrupted with this type of a virus. Is that clear? Which is very critical. If you have parasitic virus or macro virus, you can somehow manage and remove that virus with the help of an antivirus software. But boot sector viruses are so critical that sometimes it won't allow your operating system to switch on. In that case, you have to reinstall your operating system, which in that case you might lose some of the data of your system. Okay, so these are some of the types of our polymorphic virus, uh, uh, which is capable of mutating itself when it replicates. Is that clear? So these are some of the types of viruses which you should keep in mind, students. Okay. So since you all are studying this course, this is not there in your syllabus, okay, about what are the types of virus, how the update of an antivirus works. All those things what I told you is not there in your syllabus, but as a information security student, you should know this. Okay, so keep these things in mind, students. We will stop here for the day. We will continue with IKE in the next class. Okay, am I clear, students? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, students, you can leave for the day. We will continue in the next.